Hello, hello, hello. Oh, we got the office assistant in the background listening very closely. My name is Leah Lemberg Welsh. I have been coaching realtors specifically, but also coaches, small business entrepreneurs for, since 2018 at this point. I come from a background in real estate myself and obviously run my own coaching company as well. So I speak from the experiences that I've had. And one of the experiences that I've had, both in production as an agent, as the director of sales for a team, as a coach for many, many, many teams over the years, is the frustration that comes with not having a system to truly have a profitable pipeline. What ends up happening 9 times out of 10, right, is that we as humans, we're just going to make it broad. We as humans have a tendency to focus on the lowest hanging fruit and to go after the business that we know that we can close very, very easily. What that means is that there tends to be a lack when it comes to our follow-up systems for the people who say, I want to use you, but just not right this minute for various reasons, whether it's an objection or a condition or somewhere in between. We just don't have a really solid system to follow up with these people. So what ends up happening? I've heard it a million times. I've experienced it plenty of times myself. We put them in our CRM, which is what I call the place that leads go to die 9 times out of 10. Sorry, CRM systems. I love you. And we think that we've got them on some sort of a touch plan that's going to allow me to not have to do anything. And I'm going to circle back in a certain amount of time and they're going to be ready to go and it's going to be great. What actually happens is that we put them in the CRM where leads go to die. We forget about them. We might put them on a touch system. The touch system might be robust. It might not be, but it's certainly not personalized. And when we come back months, years later, they're gone. They have already bought, sold, picked another coach, chosen another program to move forward with their business, whatever it may be, right? Whatever it is that you're slinging, they moved on. And it's a total punch to the gut. It feels like a personal affront. It feels like, my God, they did not choose me. I must have done something wrong in my personality and my approach. And the truth is that we did do something wrong, but it's not in your personality. It's not in the program that you're selling. It's in your follow-up system. And frankly, I got so sick of hearing this last year in coaching, and I'm not sure why it didn't fully make me want to vomit years prior, because this is something that I hear all the time, that I finally decided that I had to do something about it. So what I did, I started with a tool that I used to use when I was in production. I called it my vacation planner. It was just a very rudimentary spreadsheet that had the months across the top, and my potential client names in the months that I anticipated them closing in. It was not pretty. It was not sophisticated. It was literally just highlighting, color coding, and name drops. But it did allow me to see, do I have enough people in January to be able to take that vacation that I'm planning in March, right? That was the meat and potatoes behind it at the time. And then I've introduced that tool to a bunch of clients and we had some success with it. But again, it was not very sexy. It was not very cool. And there was a lot of like plugging and playing that had to happen, right? There's a lot of, well, you got to drag this person around or color code them for this, or, okay, well, now they've closed, so let's take them off the list or move them into a different page. And where are we tracking our income from this? And it just wasn't very pretty and it wasn't very helpful. It just did the bare basics. So at some point in this last year, I can almost pinpoint it. It was in the fall. I went a little bit nuts and decided that I was going to create a tool that actually allowed people to follow up with their long-term lead clients and earn the money that they anticipated earning off of these people without losing them in the sauce and wishing that they had a better system to follow up with people. So what I created was the profitable pipeline tool. And it's basically a version 8.0, if you will, of my vacation planner from yesteryears, except it's a whole lot more sophisticated. What I got frustrated with was just simply telling clients, put your people in the CRM and follow up with them wasn't working. We needed somewhere that we could kind of cut through all the weeds of the CRM and still pull out not the lowest hanging fruit, but like that next tier of people that we could really zero in on and pay attention to. I also felt like we needed a place where once someone closed, they didn't just disappear forever and ever. They showed up on a transaction summary sheet. So this sheet also does that. I also wanted a place where we could very quickly get a feel for what was our goal, profitability-wise, unit count-wise, volume-wise, that maybe wasn't crazy sophisticated, but did enough for us to be able to see, are we on track or off track? And I wanted all of this to be in one place. So that's what I put together. And that's what I'm calling it, the profitable pipeline, as opposed to the other pipelines that we typically have, which is kind of like the I'm sending my leads to go rot and die pipeline. So let's take a look at what this looks like in practice. What I've put together is a spreadsheet that when you open it, it gives you all of your welcome, we're so glad you're here instructions, right? The instructions are basically to first and foremost start with the profit pathway. We'll get into this in a minute. Okay, so you're going to click right on over and you're going to fill in your profit pathway first and foremost. It also reminds you that every single time you open this thing up, the place that you really want to live is the calendar pipeline. We're going to take a look at this as well. So just hold your horses. This tool reminds you to stay focused on the big picture. It's asking us to look at our goal, our income, and our growth. It's not asking us to get into the weeds and figure out every little thing that's going to be true or false for your business. This is not going to be the end-all be-all tool for everything. It's just the end-all be-all tool for your pipeline. It also reminds you to not get in and start fiddling with a bunch of stuff that you do not need to fiddle with. This sheet, once you plug it in, once you plug in your goals rather, and once you plug in your pipeline, you should not have to do much of anything else. It's just a matter of updating the pipeline from there. It also reminds you too, there's a bunch of comments in here that kind of like tell you how to do things. If you get stuck, if you forget how to do something, if you're finding it frustrating, you're going to want to look at some of those comments. Okay. Also, because I've mentioned already that I work primarily with realtors and real estate team owners, I also, though, work with coaches and small business entrepreneurs. This sheet works for all of you guys. So whether you're a coach, small business entrepreneur, you're a director of sales for a team, you're an agent running your own business solo, this tool works for you. And we're going to talk about how it does. Okay. So like I mentioned, we're first going to bebop over to the profit pathway. And I went ahead and plugged in some numbers. And again, there's a way that we can do this where I can walk you through all of this. However, if you're just utilizing the tool and you feel like you got this and you don't need any help, boom, here you go. So what you're going to do is it tells you up at the tippy top, which you hover over your comments. If you are a realtor, you are only going to fill out the realtor section. If you are a small business owner, you are only going to fill out the small business section. Okay. If you are both, if you are a coach who also has a real estate team, if you are a real estate team owner who also has a title company and you want to model both, you can do that. Most of us are going to choose one or the other. So what you're going to do is this also tells you that you should only modify the fields that are in green. So as you see, if I get rid of some of these fields, it'll get rid of the information that calculates out. And as I add those fields back in, all the other information will auto-populate. Same thing down below here if you are a small business owner. As you add information in, the information will auto-populate over to the right as well. Okay, so all you're going to do over here is you're going to start, if you are a realtor, with your desired profit. Profit meaning once all my monthly expenses are paid, what am I going to be left with at the end of the day? That's what this sheet is defining profit as. So you're going to start with your profit, your desired profit goal. And you're going to go through and you're going to add in, what is my average buyer sales price? What is my average buyer commission? What is my average seller sales price? What is my average seller commission? And we're also going to add in, what are my average monthly expenses? So you are going to need to know a little bit of information about your business in order to fill this thing out properly. That makes sense. The only other thing that you're going to fill in if you are a realtor is what % of your business is based off of buyers. And like I already told you, all the rest of the information is going to become auto-populated for you. So for this realtor who's desiring to make $500,000 in profit, who has an average buyer sales price of $350, an average seller sales price of $280, and an average % of their business coming from buyers of 50%, the tool calculates that they will need to earn $550,800 in gross commission income so that their monthly expenses are paid for, that they're going to need to do roughly 28 buyer transactions and roughly 35 seller transactions. It's going to calculate out your total volume and it's going to tell you exactly how many deals you need to close. If you are a small business owner, unfortunately, I could not figure out, and maybe this will come in a future iteration, so just stay tuned, how to start with profit with us. We're a little bit trickier in terms of our calculations. I will continue to work on that, don't you worry. But what I've got us working on is with 3 different types of categories. So those definitions are down here at the bottom, and there's a little, again, comment down here. These 3 categories may not be perfectly aligned with your business model. However, to do your profitability calculator, your profit pathway calculator, utilize these definitions. So what we're looking at here is a product is going to be a tool or a membership that your clients can purchase without any other engagement from you. So for example, this tool, someone could purchase from me and they can watch this video and I'm not going to have to do anything else to assist them, period. They get to rock along with this forever and ever, amen. So this may be, we're going to actually fix this too, to where, see, you learn something new every day. This may be a $59 tool. This might be a $59.99, whatever it is. Whatever your tool price is, your product price is, we're going to plug that in. Then we're going to say, okay, well, how many of these products might I sell in a calendar year? Just for the sake of argument, I threw down 24. Service, we're defining service as a tool or an engagement that's going to require some of my attention as the owner. This is going to be what we typically call like a mid-tier service, a class, an intensive, a seminar, something that you are selling that it's not your highest price thing. It's also not going to take up the majority of your one-on-one time, but it is going to take some of your time. So for example, I'm going to say that this is a class that we're offering for $5.99, and I'm going to sell 12 of those a year. Okay. Lastly is what I call your one-on-one service. This is going to be something that you are offering probably on a monthly basis, or at the very least, for the sake of argument for this calculator, we are going to consider it on the sake of a monthly basis. It's your highest tiered product, and it's also going to take up the majority of your time, right? So in terms of forward-facing with your clients. So for the sake of argument, I'm saying that this is a $1,500 monthly charge, and I've got 12 of those running a year. All right. I'm sorry. I've got 23 of those running a year. The other thing that we're going to take into consideration with this is the average length of time of your service contract. So this is just a plain number here, right? So how many months does this service contract run? So for me, the average length of time for my one-on-one contracts is at least 12 months. So I went ahead and plugged in there 12 months. Okay. And then how many of those service contracts do I have? I'm going to have about 23 of those. A couple of these, I was just tweaking some of this to make it look prettier, and I realized that I've messed some of this up, so I will fiddle with some of this and fix it. You're also going to plug in, just like your realtor friends, what your monthly expenses are so that we can actually figure out what is my annual profit. And what we've got cooking on this side, again, is it's going to calculate everything out. It's going to tell you how much are you going to earn in your product revenue, in your service revenue, in your one-on-one service revenue, and it'll give you your total annual revenue. Once it plugs in your average expenses for the year, it's going to give you your total annual profit. Okay, so that gives you an idea of what are the goals that I'm gunning for the year. From there, we're going to pop over to what we call our dashboard. The dashboard is just our quick glance service that's going to tell us where do I stand in terms of my goals. So because right now I have the calendar pipeline, as we'll see in a second, set up for a realtor, you'll see this in a moment, we're going to continue to look at this dashboard as if we were a realtor. So we're going to bebop over to the calendar pipeline and then pop back over to see how this changes as we fiddle with it. Okay. So we're going to pop over to calendar pipeline. I already have some things plugged in here so that we can see how this works in practice. The idea behind the calendar pipeline is, like I mentioned when I used to use my vacation calendar, I want to see, am I on the real estate roller coaster or the small business entrepreneur roller coaster, or do I have a steady state business that I can anticipate that month over month I'm going to have revenue come in and I'm not going to go hungry? I need to know that I've got a consistent business coming through. So what's going to end up happening here is that as we add information to the bottom, it's going to auto-populate the top. So that's why it says, do not touch the above table. Just simply fill in your pipeline below. It will auto-populate. I also mentioned in here that you may get frustrated with me because I keep our status categories to just 5 different statuses. There's a reason for that. I want this to be very, very simple. And I want us to be able to move forward with these people and push them through the pipeline and not get hung up in well, they're not actually pending, they're whatever, right? We're going to keep this very, very simple. So let's look at this in practice. What we're going to start with every single time is adding in a lead name, whatever we're calling them, whether we're calling them a name, a family, a whatever, we're going to plug that information in, right? We're going to go ahead and write down what we anticipate the price of the home, product, or service to be, depending on what we're working on. Again, right now we're going to focus on it from the perspective of a realtor. So we're going to focus on the price of the home. We're going to type in, when did I find this lead, right? We're going to type in, what is my anticipated close date? This one really frustrates people. People tell me all the time, I do not have a crystal ball, Leah. I do not know when this person is going to close. I know. What I'm asking you to do is to get better at becoming a predictor. This is going to force us to get stronger in our skills of figuring out when someone is going to close, which is going to allow us to have better predictability in our business. Okay, so we are going to put in an anticipated close date. Okay. Next, we've got our status. I already mentioned to you that we only have 5 categories for our status. Initial contact means that I've just spoke with them and I haven't been able to fully pre-qualify them. Anything else beyond that is going to be a nurture, as in it's going to take them a minute, but I need to stay in touch with them. Or a ready, willing, and able, as in they are ready to roll and I need to close the deal now. You've also got closed and pending status. Talk about that in a minute. You've got your next action date. When do I next need to follow up with them? If you miss the next action date, i.e. you've stuck it in for November 6th and it is now January 3rd, this field will turn red and it should be a kick in the butt to make you make that call, text, whatever it might be. Deal type is pretty self-explanatory. We've either got seller, buyer, product, one-on-one coaching, or service. And then I'm also going to ask you to put in what is your expected income from this sale. So if you're a realtor, you're probably looking at calculating your average commission or whatever it is that you guys have already agreed upon with your client for what your commission or service fee will be. For small business owners, this is likely going to be the exact same amount as your deal amount. Okay. Expenses are going to be taken into account on the next tab over. So in practice, what this looks like, so let's go ahead and add myself in. So who am I? I am Leah. And I'm looking to buy a new house. I want to buy a house in the mountains. It's winter, right? I would love to go skiing. So we're going to say mountain houses are not cheap. We're going to go ahead and call this a $650,000 house. Okay. When did I find me? I'm just going to pretend like I'm not me. When did I find me? I found me in November of 24. And I told my realtor that I need to close by, I really want to be in this house before ski season is up, right? So in my head as the realtor, I'm going to say, well, then they need to close by February of this year. Okay. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. I have pre-approval. I know what it is I'm looking for in my house, and I'm willing to go ahead and make that purchase. So I'm ready, willing, and able. When do you next need to follow up with me? Well, my goodness, the holidays are over, so I need to go ahead and follow up with me. I know this is confusing. I've got split personality here. By next Monday. I think that's next Monday. That might not be. What am I? I am a buyer. And then we're just going to calculate off of, this is not a fixed commission conversation. I agreed to pay 2.5%. If I can do math, I've got my handy dandy calculator over here. So at 2.5% of 650, calculator is not working. We're looking at 16,250 for projected income. Okay. So that then means that I'm going to get added into the February column. Boom. It just popped up. If you rewind, you will notice that this showed it as a 4 before. We're now showing it that we've got 5 projected transactions in February. Now, about some of the nuances around this. Hold tight. Ignore that. So let's say, for example, that as I'm rocking along here, I'm working deals. This person, Holly, needed to close in January 2025. Well, ta-da. Let's just say, for example, I've got them pending or under contract. A couple things that you're going to notice. She's going to disappear from the pipeline. Okay, that's good. She's no longer in our pipeline. She's pending. She's also going to pop up into our year-to-date tracker. Okay, so all of a sudden now Holly is showing in our year-to-date tracker. This is also going to track it based on months. We've got pending here, and when she closes, she would be a closed. And it's going to allow us to get a feel for what is actually closed and pending and what am I projecting. so that we actually have a good idea of like, okay, what's going on here? Am I on track? Am I off track? Etc. Okay. We'll be back over just for a split second to the calendar pipeline. The only thing that's going to change here, if you are a coach or a small business entrepreneur, is that we're instead going to update this based off of product, one-on-one coaching, or service. Everything else operates exactly the same. And the cool thing is that now that we have all this information in our pipeline and we're keeping up with it and we're updating things on our year-to-date tracker, the whole 9 yards. Now when we pop over to our dashboard, this isn't going to show you anything until your calendar pipeline has information in it. If you pop over here and you have nothing plugged into your calendar pipeline, guess what? It's not going to give you any insights. It can't. It has to have information. So it's going to pull up your goals based off of your profit pathway that we figured out. And it's going to start to plug in what our actuals are. So remember, our actuals are over here in our year-to-date closed and pending. Okay, whoops. It's also going to tell you what is our gap, and it's going to give you this based on income as well as units and volume, right? So we're going to be able to kind of look at this based off of our unit volume or income perspective. It's going to give you a quick hit information about what's going on in your pipeline so that you can also get a feel for what's going on in that regard, right? So all the information that you would need to get from a glance is going to be in your dashboard. Now, here's what I tend to hear from people once they get into the weeds with this tool. I promise you this tool is genuinely very intuitive once you get rolling with it. And I love you agents. I love you very much. But especially my agents start to look at it and go, I just don't know. I just don't know. I just give up. If that is you, I'm telling you right now, this is the year. I'm filming this January 3rd, 2025. There is no sense in letting another year go by where you are letting business die on the vine. This is the year where we have to actually figure out, what do I need to do differently such that the business that I collect is actually not just going to be captured and slip through my fingers, but is going to go all the way through to close. So to help you with that, we have an entire class that I've put together, quick 7-week intensive. This does not take long. That's going to walk you through exactly how to utilize the pipeline and then all the little bits and nuances that go alongside of that. Right? Because what ends up happening is that we get people into the pipeline and then I just don't know how to properly follow up with them. Or I don't want to seem like I'm being pushy or a pain in the butt or a salesman. We are salesmen. And so this is going to go through, how do I actually do this? Not just utilizing the pipeline, but how do I actually come up with a touch plan? How do I handle stalled deals? How do I segment and prioritize people? How do I actually utilize my CRM alongside of a pipeline tool so that everything is working in tandem and suddenly I have a business that's really rocking and rolling, that's predictable, and that I'm not losing business out the back end. So with this class, you would have an entire 62-page playbook for how to actually implement the pipeline with your business. So this isn't me just simply saying, here's what you need to do and say and how to make things happen according to Leah's way of doing it. This is actually us getting into the weeds to figure out, how do we do it in a way that works for you? How do you say things in a way that people are actually going to hear it and say, oh, that sounds just like Leah. That sounds just like Casey. That sounds just like Matt, right? How are we going to do this in a way that people are going to respond positively and want to be in your pipeline and want to get information from you? So all of that's going to be included in a course as well. So if you are looking not just for how to utilize the tool, but you really I need the whole kit and caboodle. I need to really figure out, how do I say things in a way that feels comfortable, that I can do repeatedly over the long haul? Then the answer is really going to be, we got to get you signed up for the Profitable Pipeline class. Okay, so if you're looking for that, let me pop back over here. We've got it, ready to roll, ready to go. 7-week intensive. It's going to launch the 3rd week in January, so you've got a little bit of time here where you can actually get access to the tool, your own copy of it, ready to roll, ready for you to just totally tear up and go to town with, empty, blank, ready for a whole year's worth of business. It's going to come with your workbook or your playbook for how to actually follow up, stay in touch, move people forward, not get stuck in the weeds, the whole 9 yards. And it's going to give you a sense of community where if you are a small business owner, you're going to have other small business owners in the room with you that relate and understand what it is that you're going through. You're going to be able to, make community of people. Sorry, I'm trying to get my face back up here. You've got a community of people that you can bounce ideas off of and figure out what went well and what went poorly. The whole nine. Anything that you would ever come up against in your pipeline situations, we have a solution for that. This class is going to be launching, like I said, third week in January. We've got a launch pad ready to go, 7-week intensive, full access to me via Marco Polo. In addition to the coursework itself, we're going to be sure to group you based off of type of client, like we already mentioned. And we've got a promo code rolling for this first one. So if you are interested in the promo code, go ahead and shoot me an email. It's leahmapscoach@gmail.com. I'll be sure to have that in the comment section as well. And go ahead and claim your spot. What tends to happen is that we say to ourselves, I don't have the money. I don't have $7.99. I know it's a tough spot right now, with the economy, with everything that's going on, especially if you are in real estate, knowing that the real estate world has taken a bit of a turn. And yet, the way that I think about this is to take a second and calculate out, what is my average commission? Really and truly, what is my average commission? What do I typically earn on one deal? And then to think about, how many deals did I let slip through the cracks last year? This was the final kicker for me. When I finally got into coaching specifically, it was, how many deals did I let slide through the cracks last year? And it was thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. If we can invest one time in getting your pipeline ready to roll and having a system to do this that forever and ever and ever is going to be updated for you, it seems like a no-brainer. Let's make this the year that you actually have a predictable income month over month, that you know where your business is coming from, and that no one slips through the cracks. So if you have any questions, reach out, let me know. If you just simply want access to the tool, let me know that as well. And if you're feeling like, you know what, I really do want to be sure that I don't let business fall through the cracks and I'm closing everything that I worked so hard to collect, go ahead and make the decision. Sign up now. The link will be in the notes. And like I said, you need me. You know where to find me. Bye.